Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be comparing a 2021 Ford F-150 XLT to a 2020 Ford F-150 XLT, so you guys can actually see what the real differences are between the old truck and the new truck. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Ford Lincoln here in Provo for giving me some time with both of the trucks. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's just get straight into the video. Going to the hoods of both the trucks, starting over here with the old F-150, we have a twin turbo 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy 16 around town and 22 on the highway. Power outputs are 375 horsepower and then 470 pound-feet of torque. Coming over to the new F-150, we also have a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 that also goes through a 10-speed automatic. Fuel economy, however, is 18 around town and then 23 on the highway, with power outputs being 400 horsepower and then 500 pound-feet of torque. Let's go over the front ends of both the trucks again, starting with the older XLT. You guys can see, well, you guys probably can't see because of snow, so I'll freeze my fingers off for you. You guys can see with the hood, notice that you pretty much have a raised part here, and then it kind of goes down in the center right. There's not a whole lot of movement on the hood itself, and then you've got these halogen lights for the headlights. Now this is a regular XLT. It's not the sport package like the 2021 that we're reviewing today. But, I mean, anyways, you guys can see chrome front grille, you've got the chrome bumper, all that. If this was a sport, this would all be kind of like blacked out, and then it'd be body colored for that little portion. Tow hooks just down below, and then you guys can see the fog lights with the air dam just below in that little area. But overall, you guys can see it's a good looking truck from the front end, but seeing it next to the new one, you can see just how good looking the new truck is. First off, with the hood, you can see with all of the lines on it, just looks a whole lot more modern. Full LED lights, and I love how they like pop down into the fog light region. This one does have the sport package. You guys can see darker grille, body painted bumper here in the front end, still get tow hooks and all that, and then still have the air dam. But yeah, just seeing them next to each other, that's what really shows you how good looking the new truck is. Let's go over the tire and wheel setup on both of the trucks. So on the original F-150, we've got 275mm tires on 18-inch wheels, and then on the new one, we've got 275mm tires on 18-inch wheels. And then as for the design, again, this is like the chrome package. You guys can see you've got chrome wheels, all that. And then here's a look at the front suspension. And then you guys can see the little body line here with the kind of like, obviously it's not a fender flare, but it makes it look like it has a fender flare. And then coming over to the new one, obviously with the design on the wheels, everything's been darkened here in the center part, and then you guys can see you've got like the silver inserts on that little portion. And you can see the same design here, just looks a little bit sleeker. And then there's a quick look at the front suspension with that one. And then notice you've got the F-150 XLT venting right here, but over here you just have a normal badge. Both of them have black mirrors. They just look a little bit different. You can see the mirror on the new truck, and then compare that to the mirror on the old truck. And then you've got side steps on the old truck, and then you've got side steps on the new truck, so nothing too crazy. And let's head to the back. Let's go over the beds of both the trucks, starting over here with the XLT. You guys can see this one does have a bed liner here, so you've got the liner covering that part, and then you've got the rest of the truck as well. LED bed lights. Payload capacity on this truck is about 1,793 pounds. And yes, it does come with the little Ford bed step right there, but I'm obviously not going to pop it out because, yeah, tons of snow. Anyways, coming over here to the new truck, you can see that you've got a covering on this part with the like little measuring stuff, but no bed liner. It's an option from the factory. You guys can see LED bed lights here. You got a power outlet. Now payload on this is 1,778 pounds, so the payload is almost the same between the two. The old one just has a little bit more of a payload, and you guys will understand once we get into the interior of this truck why that is what it is. And then again, this one also does have the little bed step thing. Let's actually go over the rest of the rear. So starting with the older XLT, the thing I think is pretty interesting is it has LED lights because this truck has blind spot monitoring, whereas the newer one doesn't have LED lights. Again, that's kind of funny. But anyways, you've got parking sensors all along the bumper, chrome bumper, all that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy. Pretty simple, pretty standard setup with a Ford. Towing capacity is about 7,000 pounds. Coming over to the new F-150, obviously the sport package makes the bumper body colored. You've got parking sensors all along the rear. Towing capacity with this truck is about 8,200 pounds, so 1,200 more pounds from a towing capacity standpoint. And if you look at them both from the back end, it's hard to tell on camera, but you can definitely tell the difference with the body work, but they do look similar enough. Now let's go over the door panel here in the rear of the older XLT. You guys can see that you've got hard touch all over. You got a little insert right there. And then here are the seats in the back, so you guys can see with the cloth. Now this cloth definitely hard to the touch as well. And the reason I'm mentioning this is it feels completely different than the cloth in the new XLT. Sorry about the horn in the background. Anyways, you guys can see down there you've got a little charging port, and then there is some storage underneath the seat as well. I didn't really notice a huge difference in legroom with the new one, so I'm not going to pop into the truck or anything like that. But you guys can see pretty basic here with the back of the older XLT. And so yeah. Here's the door panel in the new XLT. You guys can see you've got really nice soft touch with the stitching, and then you guys can see just like the overall theme of the door panel, just a lot nicer from an aesthetic standpoint. And I really like the trim right there. And then looking at the seats, these seats definitely, like, they're not as like scratchy hard as the seats in the older XLT. They're definitely a lot softer to the touch. And then you guys can see you get a bunch more from a charging station standpoint. You get a full power outlet here as well, which is definitely a nice little feature. Some cup holders just up above, but you guys can see storage space. All that is going to be identical between the two trucks. And well, so yeah. Now here's the door panel in the front of the older XLT. So you actually do get soft touch here to rest your arm. And then you've got all of your window controls, your mirror controls, and then you got the door lock and unlock. And then here's the seats at the front. So again, that really like hard to the touch cloth here for the seats. You do get power adjustments there on the side of the seat. There's the pedal layout. You can see you've got the adjustments for the pedal. You got your parking brake right there, your light controls, your fog light, your cargo light, the lights on the mirrors as well. And there's one more look before we pop into the older XLT. Let's quickly go over the interior of the older XLT. You guys can see with the steering wheel, just kind of remember the material on the steering wheel. It's a little bit rougher compared to the new one. And then you guys can see all the buttons. You've got like your volume controls, you get your voice command controls, you got controls for the center stack, cruise control over here on this side. And then yes, it does come with a column shifter, which you can shift the gears yourself with those little buttons right there. And it does have a drive mode select. You can see over here you've got the little turn signal, that's also for the windshield wipers. And then coming here into the center stack, you can see there's a couple different menus you can scroll through. You do have the analog gauges on either side. With analog gauges, well, at the top, it's kind of like a double, it's like a screen analog gauge setup, pretty cool in general. And then yes, you've got those drive modes, so you guys can see you've got the normal, tow haul, snow wet, you've got the eco, and then you got the sport mode that you can go through with the truck. Nothing too crazy with that. And then coming over here, we've got our little stability control button right there, and then you got a little button for the hazard lights, the auto stop start as well. And then we have the whole infotainment system. So first off, we're going to pop the truck into reverse. You can see you've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel, and then you do have the zoom function as well. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, you guys can see response time on the infotainment system is pretty decent, and you can see usability on it. Also, it's just pretty easy to use in general. Nothing too crazy with this. This is the newer version of the infotainment system. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty good system in general. But you can see sometimes the load time when you press stuff does take a second. And then just down below, you guys can see you've got some volume controls and everything for the infotainment system. Drive line select over here. So you push in for the, or sorry, you pull for the locker, and then you've got your 2-wheel high, your 4-wheel high, your 4-wheel low as well. Trailer backup system, and then you've got the trailer brake controls just down below. And then you've got the climate controls here, just a single zone climate. You do get heated seats still in the XLT. And then you've got the little charging station area thing, whatever you want to call it. And then you guys can see you've got a couple of USBs down there, and then a 12 volt as well. This one does come with the bench seat, which you guys can see there's some storage on top of it, some cup holders. It lifts up to be a seat, and then you've got some storage just underneath. So this one has the benefit of having the bench seat, which is fun for certain stuff. The other one has something that's cool that you guys will see in a minute. But anyways, you can see some extra storage just up above the glove box, and then you've got a glove box and something just fell inside, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then guys, kind of remember the material here on the dash, like just like how it looks from a design standpoint with the truck. And then coming up to the top, we've got the power sliding window, and then you got the sunglass holder as well up here. And this is everything for the older XLT, so let's head to the new one. Here's the door panel in the newer XLT. So again, you guys can see you've got the soft touch with the cool material with all the stitching, and then that little cool panel right there. All of our window controls here in this little area, but just overall definitely looks really good. And then again, the seats in the front definitely softer than the seats in the older XLT, just from a feeling standpoint. And then you guys can see you've got the adjustments on the side of the seat, pedal layout just down below. And then we've got our parking brake right here, your adjustments for the pedals, your light controls. You got the little mirror lights as well, and then the tailgate drop down. And there's one more look before we pop into the new XLT. Now, with the new XLT, you guys can see the steering wheel just feels a little bit nicer with the steering wheel itself. The controls definitely look a whole lot more modern. So you got the controls for center stack, your phone controls, voice command controls, all that kind of stuff with your cruise control as well. Functionality is the same, it just looks nicer. And then you still have that same little stock right there on the side, so that hasn't changed. And then coming into the center screen, again, you've got the analog gauges on either side, but then you have the digital screen there for the center. So again, functionality similar to the older truck, it just looks a lot nicer. And then you do have a bunch more with the drive modes. So there's a normal mode, and then you've got the tow haul mode, you got the eco mode, and then the sport mode as well. And then on the flip side, we've got a slippery mode, we've got deep sand and snow, and then we've got a mud and ruts, and it has really cool animations with the drive modes. So definitely a step up compared to the other XLT. And then we've got a bunch of buttons up here. So you've got your auto stop start, that's for the camera. That's your hazard lights, that's your stability control. And then you guys can see a huge step up with the infotainment system. So first off, when we pop into reverse, you guys can see resolution, definitely a whole lot nicer. And I mean, it's a huge image. So like parking this truck should not be an issue whatsoever. And then if you do want to pop that open again, you just press the little camera button with that. And the thing I did notice is response time on the screen, even in the cold, seems to be a little bit better compared to the older truck. So that's definitely another little thing that's pretty cool. It's cool that you like walk up to the truck and actually turns the light on. That's part of that zone lighting, which I think is another neat little feature. But yeah, overall, definitely a huge upgrade with the infotainment system from an aesthetic standpoint, and it's just easier to use. And then you guys can see you've got the trailer backup system, trailer brakes, and then down here you've got the driveline section. So you've got your two-wheel high, your four-wheel high, your four-wheel low, and then you push in for the locker, and then you got the drive modes as well. Dual zone climate, whereas the other one just had a single zone climate, and then you do have the heated seats as well. And then you guys can see you've got a 12 volt, and then we've got a full power outlet on top of that. Some extra storage space down here. You've got a little phone holder as well right next to it. And then look at just like the material use over here. And the other one has a bench seat, but this one has a shifter that folds down. So like both of them get you to the same, like they're both means to an end, but they both get you to the same thing, just in different ways. And again, you've got the manual shift function right here. You just press that in to go into the manual mode. I love the feeling of the shifter. And by the way, this is so much easier to get it into gear compared to the column shifter. The column shifter is definitely a lot more vague. I definitely just prefer shifters like this. I know some people prefer column shifters. I think this looks better, and I think it's easier to use. And then you got the center console, which you guys can see storage space in there is pretty decent. And then with the glove box situation, pretty cool that both glove boxes are covered, and then you guys can see the nice trim on the outside of that little glove box. And then look at the dash. So just from like a design standpoint, even though the material use isn't necessarily the nicest, it looks really good. It looks just way better put together compared to the other truck. And then finishing things up top, you guys can see we've got a sunglass holder, and then we've got a power sliding window, full black headliner, so nothing too crazy going on the top here. But yeah, just overall theme, the interior on this one's way nicer. Go over pricing with both of the trucks. So the older XLT stickers for about $54,000. This newer XLT stickers for about $55,000. Obviously, we do have to pick a winner for today's video. Now, yes, there are going to be bigger discounts on the older XLT compared to the newer one. That's just what happens when you have an older truck in general. But if we take things at face value, this one stickers for $54,000. That one stickers for $55,000. Payload is about the same on both the trucks. Towing capacity is more on the newer one. The newer one has a better fuel economy rating, has more power, more torque as well, and then it just has a much nicer interior and exterior, especially the interior. The interior has just been brought up a massive amount, and the exterior of these trucks, it's not really a photogenic truck. But when you see it in person, it looks really good, and especially seeing it next to the older one, it makes the older one look really dated. Like, it just looks significantly better. I really like just like the front end appearance on the truck, and it somehow, like, it looks wide. It's weird. It just has this like wide look to it in general. But I'm gonna pick the newer XLT to win today's video because they're essentially the same price, right, at face value, even though this one will probably have more discounts because it's an older truck, but at face value, they're about the same price, and this truck has way more features, looks better, nicer interior, drives better, everything's better about that truck, so the new one wins. That's gonna sum things up for today's video, comparing the new XLT to the old XLT. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Ford Lincoln here in Provo for giving me some time with both of the trucks. Check out their inventory in the link below. I will see all of you in that next video.